згортаю і говорю, так? Все, так? Так. Hello. Today I'm planning to make stream in Ukrainian language, but of course, if somebody wants to speak English, if somebody wants to give a question in English language, I'm ready to answer it as well. The topic is first 3 rounds of candidated tournament. Ola, I commented already all of games, but probably somebody wants to come back to one concrete game. I put all game in one this file, Ola. And okay, we can discuss about any topic, about chances of participants, about and other topics of chess, about opening. So please free. Aha, Ali Reza second is Ivan Cheparin. Very good choice in my opinion. He is very well prepared theoretically, so good. Can you tell me who is second of Timur Rajabov? Do you have any ideas or any information about this? Probably I am too dark now. Okay, I will put light. St. Louis stream. How I know Karangit? Okay, I don't know him personally, but I have seen him several times during my Twitch translations. Heard. Okay. So Cheparinov is interesting information. Ivan Cheparinov lives now in Georgia, right? At least he represents Georgian Chess Federation, as I know. How he knows. Okay. So it's better ask him directly. Okay. Okay, what else we can speak about? Any desires? So we have 2 leaders at the moment. Endgame of Naka yesterday. Yes, very interesting endgame. We can consider it more carefully. So I played here rook c1 instead of rook d1. And after bishop a6, queen a4. And after queen d7, he took on d7 and took on f6. And if g takes f6, is possible. So Lenderman took with knight. And after e3, bishop takes f1, king takes f1. Position was better for Pavel Elyan. the idea is, for example, if c5, white can just take. If b takes c5, knight f3, rook b8, rook c2. And white has enough time for maneuver knight e5, knight c4, or knight d2, knight c4. So this is a good line for white, but okay, probably black can play something else. I don't know what exactly after rook c1, what is the best according modern theory. Probably Alireza prepared something else. I don't know what exactly. For example, this can be considered and next move knight bd7, but it's not obvious is it good or not. White has choice between e3 or also f3. Is possible to prepare e4. But okay, so rook c1 is solid and popular line, but Alireza played rook d1, bishop a6, queen a4, h6. Again, queen d7 is totally possible move here, and many games was played. If queen c2, queen c6, queen takes c6, knight takes c6, this type of position. Now again, it's possible to play e3. And many games was played here. Probably white is slightly better, but nothing special. For example, black can take, and probably even knight a5 is possible to prepare c5 somewhere. But okay, Alireza played h6, bishop h4, queen e7 again. Queen e7, not queen d7. Okay, so queen e7, knight f3. It looks like all of this is preparation of both. So e4. So queen c2 firstly. e4 immediately, probably not so good. I don't know why, frankly speaking. But for example, we consider e4, bishop takes f1, rook takes f1. g5, knight takes g5, h takes g5, bishop takes g5. But okay, probably no, black can play e5, for example. And not so that white is very strong. Play up, and how it's very pleasant to have spectators from different countries. For example, can everybody told me which country is he from? If, of course, he or she not lazy to do it. I want to know how wide Latvia, okay, very nice. How wide India, how wild is my auditory in Twitch. Latvia, India, nice. Italy, good, good. Spain, North Korea even, oh, very nice. Mexico, good. I will write for myself. Paraguay, okay. I will write. Probably I will publish this list in Facebook of my school. So Latvia, India, Italy, North Korea, Paraguay, Bangladesh, Sweden, okay, Poland. Okay, Was queen d1 winning for Ding after bishop c5? Yes, about Ding Duda, after exchange of queens, I think white has excellent winning chances, but Syria, okay. Okay. Syria. Okay. If probably not from North Korea, no problem. Tatarstan. Okay. Tatarstan. Good. Okay. How was in the game Lek Van Liem against Nakamura? So E4 played Lek Van Liem. What played Nakamura? Okay, it was question about game. I will come back to game Firouzja Nakamura, but it was a question about game Dean Grapport, so I will check also this. So Queen D1 is proposition. Queen D1, if Bishop C5, Queen A1. Yes, if exchange queens, I think very difficult endgame for black. I don't know why black should play bishop c5. In my opinion, much better to play king g8 here. And my idea to play not to exchange. And now it's to win for white. I don't see any real chances here. But this, of course, is mistake because black needs to keep queens in the board. Okay, so let's come back to Nakamura. If took on f1, the king side pawns get pushed. So e4 was another game against Nakamura, but Alireza played queen c2. Thank you. Good evening. c5 and now e4. Bishop f1. Bishop f1, rook takes f1, g5, and knight takes g5, right? Or what? H takes g5, bishop takes g5, and e5 now, or what? e5, okay, and what played Lek Van Liem here? f4 or what? Rook d3 he played. Okay, rook d3. And rook takes d4 is possible. Oh, he took on d4. Oh, he took with pawn on d4. What did Nakamura? d4, bishop takes f6. Rook takes d4, bishop takes f6. Idea that he cannot take with queen because queen e8 check. So rook a4, bishop takes e7, and now the rook takes e4 on knight c6. Aha, so this is idea. And why not e takes d4? Rook g3 probably is unpleasant. Aha. If queen takes e4 check, white has king d2 maybe. Okay, very interesting to know this. I didn't see. Okay, so queen c2 was a novelty of Alireza. So queen c2 he played, c5 is very natural reaction. Maybe there are other moves. I don't know. Maybe g5 also possible if bishop g3. Rook h1, h4. In which moment rook h1, h4? What do you mean? So g5 can be considered like alternative if bishop g3, c5. Rook f3, h4. In which moment? After rook d3, e takes d4, rook g3. Okay, no problem, but I want to understand this moment. So rook d3, after rook takes d4, idea bishop takes f6, this I understand. If e takes d4, idea is rook g3, right? And black is in trouble. f4, rook f3, in which moment f4? Here f4. But if f4, I will take on d4 with pawn. Before rook g3? No, before what? Rook g3 now. Okay, can wait, but rook g3 is very logical. Let's keep rook, yes, but what is the reason to play rook d3? Rook g3 is direct threat, but I don't see any reasonable alternative here for white. But rook g3 is very strong. f4, no. f4 here. f4 looks strange because black will take with check. No, something totally wrong. No. Okay, so e4 it's another game. Nakamura were good prepared with e4 because he played even game against Lee Kuan Yew. So surely he analyzed this game and probably he prepared some improvements. But Alireza played queen c2 and now black has choice. Probably g5 is possible as well after bishop g3, c5. King slung is a little bit weak for black, but they have contraplay in the centrum. How strong this contraplay, I don't know. So if h4, for example, g5, e5, I want to take now. And now maybe queen c1 is possible, maybe bishop f4 is possible. Also here d takes c5 can be considered, so white has choice. But okay, c5 is natural reaction, e4, bishop f1 is natural, rook takes g5, knight takes g5, takes. So white is ready to play e5. Okay, we can consider c takes d4 if e5 d3. What is this? F4 in which moment? Here F4. Okay, maybe it's possible as well, but e5 it looks like more concrete. d3 also. F4 is proposition. Okay, if F4, let me think, what is this? Yes, it's a dynamic position. I agree. Because after e5, my idea was to play d3, if rook d3 to take, queen takes d3, queen d7. But after f4, what black should play, I need to think. For example, what about knight bd7 if e5, queen c5? Queen takes c5, b takes c5, e takes f6. White is pawned up, but black has some contraplay. You can play rook. Rook f3 is your idea. No, if rook f3, I have idea queen c5. Now I am not under the pin. And I hope it will be more easy to defend. I'm not pretty sure about this, but at least I don't see anything decisive. Queen d3 also is possible. White still has reasonable compensation, you are right, but okay, for example, e5, I can play. Rook g3, yes, king f8, my idea was. Not c takes d4, but rook d6. E5, here. Here e5, okay, maybe here e5 is also possible. Yes, I proposed e5, but after e5 I was worried. Yesterday I analyzed this line, but after e5, d5 seemed me quite unpleasant, with idea to prepare rook d3, rook g3. But okay, this endgame is not clear for me, so this rook b8, if black has enough contraplay or not. My plan is Yes, d5 and rook d3, understand. So if rook f2, for example, my idea is to play rook b3 and then rook b8, attack b2 pawn. So black is pawn down, but they have very good pieces. Okay, so many questions. Also, e5 after d3, it's possible to consider some other moves. For example, queen d2 is possible, and it can be unpleasant for black. If, for example, rook d4 with idea rook e4, white has several moves. Even f3, it's possible, just to prevent rook e4, to keep many threats. Okay, so Nakamura played knight c6. Ali Reza played queen c1. Okay, f4 is logical, but maybe e5 is stronger. I mean here, so maybe e5 is more primitive because I will take the piece back, and although maybe black can consider same idea, I mean knight bd7 to play. And after e takes f6, queen c5. And now bishop is hanging, queen is hanging, and white cannot keep queen in the board, because after queen d2, queen e5 check, and white is losing the piece. So queen takes c5 is forced, b takes c5, and now black wants to play rook b8 and start contraplay in queen's flank. Well, white has pawn up, but maybe black has compensation. Of course, now f4 is probably not the best move, but what to play? Black wants to play rook b8 anyway, and probably black has enough compensation to reach draw in this position. Well, so after e5, d5, that's true with idea rook d3, rook g3. So c takes d4 was possible, but Nakamura played knight c6 and queen c1. Played Firouzja, surely it was preparation. Now black need to do something. Nakamura took with rook on d4. Maybe e5 was possible as well. If bishop h4, my idea is to play rook d6. Also, maybe e takes d4 is also possible. Okay, about e takes d4, I'm not sure, because check. King. If king f8, white can just take. And yes, very difficult for black, but for white is also difficult, because white has choice as well. Okay, now white is better. Black cannot take on e4, because after king d2, white has very strong threats, so black should play probably this, and rook d6, but okay. White is pawn up, but e5 is bad because rook e8. And Black giving pawn back, so okay, black has chances for draw here. For example, if bishop h4, rook e8, if f3, f5, if king d2, just take, king g8, so king g7. And then knight e5 is coming in some moment, but okay, it's difficult. So e5 was possible alternative, but okay, maybe d5 as well. d5, knight d4, rook d3, something like this, or bishop h4, for example, is possible to prepare something. With queen g5, rook d6 also, rook d3, for example. White has quite strong attack. Incredible calculator, okay, maybe incredible calculator. Okay, so e5 was possible, but Nakamura took on d4, rook takes d4, knight takes d4, queen f4 check, queen f4 he played, without check, knight c2. Oh. Also we were discussed about queen d7 here. After bishop f6 this, and queen b5 checks. So looks very dangerous, but we didn't fight yesterday forcing win for white here. Nakamura played knight c2, okay, because first question was endgame. And now first not obvious moment white king b1, so b3 looks like more natural, at least from human point of view. This. So why king b1 is better than b3, it's not obvious, at least for me. Okay, but Alireza played king b1, and now knight f6 he played. In my opinion, very natural was to play c4, this idea, knight c5, knight d3 in some moments. If bishop e3, probably rook d8, something like this. Okay, probably bishop e3 was prepared, but I'm not completely sure. Yes, I understand that in future can be c4, but where c4? So in future, yes, but if we can discuss move by move. So how black can play c4? For example, if immediately c4, I will take. If rook c8, I can just play f3. And black cannot take on c4 because after king d3 they are losing the piece. And if knight f6, I can protect my pawn and not give it back so easily. So how black can play c4? Rook c8, but okay, if rook c8 is possible, but maybe rook c8. Yes, maybe simply rook c8 is correct, because now rook d1, knight takes f2 is possible. Also, what is this? Rook d1 is possible. If knight takes f2, rook d7. White is pawn down, but rook is very active. If c4, my plan is just play b4. Looks like white has totally enough compensation for the pawn, but I don't know if it's enough for playing for a win in this position. But how to play with black, by the way? Also here, if c4 is possible, but my plan is just play b4. If knight takes f2, rook d7. Knight d3, for example, bishop g3. If a5, for example, I can just take and rook c7. Something like this. It can be dangerous for black because white king is very active and a5 and c4 pawns are very weak. So it's not obvious that king b1 was the best. So b3 was interesting alternative. And here, after king b1, this, bishop f4, now c4 was interesting. Trade rooks and knight e1 check. Just a moment. Trade rooks and knight e1 check. Okay, king c3, and I want to take pawn a5 and then try to push my a pawn. I think white is better. Okay, maybe black has some way to draw, but it's not obvious because a pawn will be more dangerous than. Okay, so king b1 he played. Knight f6, not obvious choice. c4 is more natural, at least. Maybe also rook d8 was possible. Rook d8 here, also natural. Knight d2 is threat now, so probably king c2 white should play. And now c4. If f3, my idea to play knight c5 and then knight d3, try to create some counterplay. Bishop e3 maybe now. It's unpleasant because white wants to play rook d1 and to exchange rook is hardly good for black. So if play c4, probably better here, because now if bishop e3, black can play something else, probably now rook c8, with idea of rook d1, c3, but not sure, because rook d4 is coming. Okay, so it's not obvious, but he played knight f6. Yes, knight on d5 has a good position, that's true, but white has his trumps as well, and black is losing several tempes to do it, so totally possible that knight f6, knight d5 plan in this position wasn't the best, but okay, it's very far from obvious. Even king h7 we can consider. The idea to prepare rook g8 only after f3 to play knight f6. c4, bishop d3, b5. But how bishop d3? There are no bishop on the board now. White has bishop, but white bishop cannot go to... bishop e3, you mean. Bishop e3 probably. b5. Yes, I understand. Okay, it's possible, but it's far from obvious because rook d1 is coming and rook d4. If, for example, h5, white even has this idea. If b takes a4, rook d4 is unpleasant. So it's not situation when black can push their pawns so easily. Yes, activity is important, but you must be careful because if game will start in queen's flank, white king on b1 and black king on g8. So in queen's flank, white has one extra piece. And also rook on a8 still not active at the moment. So white has a big advantage here. Okay, let's consider what did Nakamura. He played knight f6, h4, knight d5, bishop d2, f5 he played. Probably he wants to block white pawns after f3, f4, and white cannot attack immediately this pawn because if rook e1, king f7, rook e4, rook g8, white is losing g2 pawn, and here looks like drawish. Is that everything okay with voice, with picture? Please confirm it because sometimes I'm worried about this. Okay, good. So G3 played Ali Reza. And he wants to prepare slowly f3, g4. And not allow blockade. King f7 played. f6. Now if rook g8, white can push g4 immediately because king is in f line. He has not so good position. Rook h8 played Nakamura. Now g4 is impossible because what I'm thinking about Ali Reza fighting spirit, yes, he has very good fighting spirit. That's true. I need to admit them. I felt this also during my own games against Ali Reza. Unfortunately, I have never played him in live chess, but in online I played him several games. Even I played match against him. I am fine, thank you. So I am streaming today, and my plan today was to speak in Ukrainian, but there are no Ukrainian spectators online, so I am speaking in English and trying to explain some games from first 3 rounds. Was question about endgame from the game Firuzja Nakamura, and I'm trying to consider it more carefully. Трошки є, дуже приємно, що ви мене слухаєте. Так, англомовні, кажуть. Thank you, I can speak Ukraine. Я можу говорити українською мовою, але для того я повинен переконатися, що є слухачі, які бажають почути українську мову. Таки є. Перекладаю для дочки. Чудово. А дочка взагалі якою розмовляє мовою? Англійською чи... Добре. Приємно, що ви є. Приємно, що ви слідкуєте за моїм каналом. А дочка взагалі якою мовою в основному розмовляє? Англійською чи якою, чи може чеською зараз? No, please. Ми в Полтаві. Дуже приємно. Ніколи не був, до речі, в Полтаві. Просто ніколи. Так, я тільки проїздом якось автобусом, коли до Харкова добиралися до Харкова то то якраз команда їхала на командний чемпіонат світу, який був в Єревані. І тоді Україна перемогла. То був 2001 рік. І автобусом ми добиралися з Києва до Харкова через Полтаву. То був такий дуже шикарний автобус і дуже приємний шлях. Окей. So, I need to respect also English, my spectators who doesn't understand Ukrainian language yet. Дякую. But they speak English. So Rook h8 played Nakamura. He not allow g4 immediately. But bishop g5. He's preparing g4. В Полтаві Гоголь з тих країв, правильно? Хутори, вечори на хуторі близ Диканьки. Дякую. Описав Микола Гоголь. В тих краях він бував. Ну, він народився в Полтаві. А з шахістів Ісаак Боліславський. Ну, він не з самої Полтави, а це від вас далеко. There is question if bishop e1 is better than bishop g5. Difficult to say, but bishop g5 looks more natural than bishop e1, but probably bishop e1 is also interesting. Bishop e1. But after bishop e1, probably knight e3 is possible, and where will go your rook? If rook f2, even f4 can be considered. If rook g1, rook d8, probably with idea rook d1. So, okay, maybe bishop e1 is possible, but certainly bishop g5 is more natural than bishop e1. Яке саме місто, ну я не знаю, чи то місто, чи село Золотоноша називається. Чи то селище міського типу може. Я в Вікіпедії прочитав, що Боліславський Ісаак народився в Золотоноші Полтавської губернії. Але чи то місто, чи село, чи селище міського типу, я не знаю. От наберіть Боліславського в Вікіпедії, там, напевно, розказується. Може, й перейменували вже то місто. We are speaking about Isaac Boleslavsky. He was born in Ukraine. He played in several times in Ukrainian championship. Probably even he was Ukrainian champion, but later he went to Belarus and he lived in Minsk many years. Okay, maybe so bishop, but it's not standard. We can consider other moves. For example, rook h1 we can consider as well, like option. Idea to prepare g4 and keep bishop on d2. I cannot, this stupid idea to keep bishop in this diagonal, e1, e5. In checkers, this diagonal has name Kosyak, e1, a5. So e1, a5, d8, h4, it's Kosyak. Long diagonal a1, h8 has name Bolshak. And diagonal g1, a7, h2, b8, these diagonals has name Dvoynik. And diagonals c1, a3, f8, h6, it's Troynik. I am playing also checkers, and I love to play checkers, not only 64 boards checkers, but 100 board checkers. But okay, in 100 board, diagonal has different names. But Bolshak the same for long diagonal. Well, so checkers is solved, I don't know, but even if it's solved with computer, nobody can remember all of variation. But they are playing from original position from the start, according to drawing of lots. White wants to push king active first. Yes. So you mean to play something like king c2 now? Okay, it's possible. But f4 is threat now. So white need to do something against f4, because if king c2, f4 is coming, and pawn structure of white will be broken. Yes, so okay, bishop g5 anyway, very natural move. So c4 played g4, b5. And now again white has choice, and Alireza played rook d1. Yes, we are considering a game between Alireza and Naka, but rook d1, again, not so obvious. Oh, okay, that's concrete idea. So he has threat to take on f5, very concrete threat. This is a point of rook d1, but certainly it's not only option in this position. For example, rook e1 is also possible. If, for example, a5, white can just take and rook e5. And black is losing material. Firstly, I had ideas that black can play rook d8, and after rook takes f5, king e6, rook is trapped, but then I realized that d8 square is under control of bishop, so such idea not works because of very simple reason. So rook e1 was very interesting move, and maybe even better than rook d1, because okay, maybe black can play same as in the game, but now on E line probably rook is more active. For example, I can play h5, and now if rook g8, I can consider rook e5, but I'm not sure, because after rook e5 white has no threats and black can just advance his pawn. So, thank you. So probably white has no benefit, big benefit here. But okay, maybe white can make some prophylactics, like rook e4, for example, with threat a4. If rook c8, white will be more free to push his pawns h5. Okay. Then how strong it is, it's a big question. For example, I can play even bishop c1, also b3, and now black has threat to play c3, so bishop d2 also, but it looks like draw. Okay, so probably rook e1, same story. Black rook cannot move with bishop on e1, but okay, what else is possible? White has several possibilities, right, like rook e1 or rook d1, but probably it's not enough for win. If rook e1, rook e8 is possible. But even here, rook d1, for example, if knight b6, I can push h5 and still not easy for black, because h pawn is quite... Duda against Rapport. Duda against yes, Duda against Rapport. It was game. Firouzja game. Duda Firouzja. Okay, it was Sicilian, but okay. I will come back to this game, but now I want to consider this endgame. So even g takes f5, maybe not so stupid idea at all. And then rook e1. Rook e5 is threat now. It's quite unpleasant threat. Black cannot allow rook e5. So rook e8 is forced. And now if exchanged rooks, it will be draw. But rook d1 I can play. Also probably immediately rook d1 is possible to play. With idea... I annotated all of games, so... But okay, it doesn't mean that it's not possible to come back. Now king e6 probably also. Rook e1, king d6, f4 is possible with idea rook e5. But I prefer rook e1 here. And rook e5 is threat, so rook e8 is forced, because if not rook e8, rook e5 is coming, it will be certainly very, very unpleasant for black. So rook e8 is forced, and now rook d1. I provoke black to give free space for my h pawn. Rook e5 is not possible. White just wins. Doesn't help because rook d7 check. So after rook 1, rook e1, rook e8, rook d1, black should play knight b6 probably. But after knight b6 I can play h5, and my pawn, it's quite unpleasant for black. So black need to solve quite difficult problems. White wants to play h6 and then rook d6 in some moment. And certainly much better than black. So probably even g takes f5 was not so stupid. Okay, but this is totally different idea than the Firouzja want. Okay, he wanted to play with two connected pawns. There is question about Shereshevsky book. До речі, сам. А друга книжка Шерешевського – це «Контури Еншпіля». Це він написав в соавторстві з Леонідом Слуцьким. Чи єдиний це підручник по еншпілях? Ну, не єдиний, мабуть. Наприклад, в Нанна є книжка, так звана «Pawnless Endgame», тобто безпішакові закінчення. Досить хороша книжка. Наприклад, один мій знайомий, гросмейстер Шульський з Литви, то дуже любив читати ту книжку і вирішувати вправи з тої книжки. Ну, далі є книжки розбираються лише точні еншпіля, часом розбираються чисто практичні. Далі просто шикарна книжка по еншпілю, це Корчного. Practical Rook Endgames. Просто шикарна книжка. Я отримав велике задоволення. Thanks for your subscription and thanks to everybody who support my chess channel. Отже, книжку Корчного в турових закінченнях це точно рекомендую. То якраз от навіть по самій назві видно, що розбираються практичні турові закінчення, ну, переважно з його власної практики. Прошу, якщо ще щось цікавить, з задоволенням відповім на різні питання. Отже, so G takes E5 was a really interesting idea, but okay, it's not easy to play this because White has very big temptation to play with two-passed pawn and not so easy to break the structure and play for and try to play for another trumps in positions. Okay, but so he played rook d1, now g takes f5 is threat, so f takes g4 is more or less forced. King g6 was bad because after rook e1 black cannot come back. They are simply losing here. Yes, за пораду, дякую за пораду, it means thanks for advice. Порада is advice. So, if somebody wants to learn Ukrainian language here, I can be useful teacher, I hope. Good. Which country are you from? Ship it Ola Balas. Which country are you from? Norway. Okay. Nice to meet you. So, also you can tell me something in Norwegian language. I don't know Norwegian language, unfortunately, but you can explain me, for example, if I will play against Carlsen and I will want to offer at him draw, how I can do it in Norwegian language. How to offer draw in Norwegian language, for example. I will write for myself. I'm not sure that it will be useful, probably I will. Dette mabli. Dette må bli uavgjort. Magnus, okay. Dette må bli uavgjort. More or less understandable, I hope. Vote for chess draw would be... remise. Uavgjort. Uavgjort. Okay. Thank you. Dette må bli uavgjort. Uavgjort. Gjort. Okay, thank you. Okay, so f takes g4 was played after rook d1. So it's question if rook d1 was the best. It's complicated because white has a lot of choice and a lot of tempting moves. It's possible in this position. Also h5 is possible, by the way, it's simple. It's totally possible, okay. Probably black needs to play a5 and try to push b4 as soon as possible, but after h5 the problem is that white can never take on f5 already. Black is ready for b4. If rook goes somewhere, black has idea, for example, if rook d1, Gjört, while wow, Gjört. This rook g8 is possible, some kind of contraplay. Not so sure, but for example, rook f1 check, king a8, h5, h6 is possible. And still some danger for black, because not possible to take my bishop. But black has rook f8 idea. Дайте блівав Gjört. I offer a draw. So rook f8 is important defensive idea in this endgame, because if white exchange rook, kings will be very close. King will be very close to white pawns. If rook goes somewhere, king f7, and again black king is fighting actively against white pawns. So it's not so easy for white to make real progress here. Okay, but what did Firouzja? So Firouzja played rook d1, a5, and now he played h5 immediately, and probably after h5 it's already drawish. Maybe rook d4 was the best try, but not so clear, because black has contraplay. For example, rook c8 is possible if h5 b4 is coming. Black is ready for c3, so yeah. Так, де можна придбати книжку Мирона Козака «Два світи» Василя Іванчука? Ну, я не знаю, де можна придбати. Може, прямо в нього можна придбати. Ну, в мене вдома є, значить, досить багато екземплярів. Якщо ви буваєте у Львові, то міг би з вами зустрітися, просто подарувати вам цю книжку. Так що при бажанні є можливості. Bishop e1. Yes, I understand, but Bishop e1 has some disadvantages as well. So before it, yeah, it doesn't look at least that white can win this easily. So knight on d5 is strong with pawn on e6. So probably it was reason to play gf ef. So after gf ef, knight d5 is not protected, and white had more possibilities for dynamic play. Okay, but after h5, rook g8. Rook g8 immediately played Nakamura, and bishop cannot go because white will lose the pawn. So rook f1 is forced, and h6 is forced, and rook f8. Very cute defense, and it looks like this position is already drawish. Of course, it wasn't... It wasn't easy to understand it before, but now, after analyze, it doesn't look that Firouzja missed win or even at least winning chances somewhere. So maybe this position is already drawish. So probably best chance was to take on f5. So after this, and very important that king e3 king c2 not possible. Yes, but with bishop on e1 it would be different game. So king c2, knight e3 is coming, and also maybe Maybe it's possible. I'm not sure, by the way, that knight e3 is the best. Maybe king f7 simply is the best, and then king g6, because if knight e3, white can play king c3, knight takes g4. Now b5 pawn is very weak, and white can play simply bishop g5, and then king b4, king takes b5. It's dangerous for black, but after king c2, king f7, and black is ready to put his king on g6, white pawns will be blocked, and it means that white has no winning chances here anymore. Probably even black can be better if king g6 will go, and then e5, e4 in some moment. Maybe black in some moment can start to play for a win, but not a white, certainly. So white has no time to play king c2. So king f7 is a strong idea to block the pawns. So king g5, it's logical, because he wants to have pawns g7, g6 and h7 very close to promote, but unfortunately for Elireza, it's not enough for win. King f7, he wants king g6, of course, so and c3 just in time. Very important that white didn't play king c2 yet, and according to analyze which I made, white has no chances to win in this position. It's a surprise, because it looks like pawns are very dangerous, and one check from long diagonal from Bolshak will be decisive, but white cannot do anything. Okay, it wasn't preparation, it was very stubborn defense from Nakamura. So after the opening he went to bad endgame, but he defended very well, and Firouzja didn't manage to win this position. So after e5 it's already draw, because if king d3, knight f4, it's important. After king d2, king h8. Excellent waiting move, and problem for white that king d4, king d3, knight f4 is coming. Thanks for subscription. It's important for me, because I want to develop this channel, so I want to do many interesting things, probably also some course of Ukrainian language, at least Ukrainian, which has Ukrainian language or so many subscription, very pleasant. At least Ukrainian language which has attitude to chess. I can explain how to tell name of pieces, for example, in Ukrainian language. So, for example, чи я коментую в режимі наживо? Зрідка, тому що це все-таки займає багато часу, по-перше, а по-друге, технічно мені це набагато тяжче перескакувати з одної партії в другу, ще не тільки в себе на дошці, а ще й в лічесі. Технічно я ще не так добре підготовлений. Отже, переважно я коментую партії після того, як вже вони зіграні. Але часом коментую і онлайн теж. Не знаю, чи ще буду коментувати онлайн з цього турніру претендентів. Подивимося. Обіцяти поки що не можу. So many, I see so many subscriptions, very pleasant for me. Thanks for such a gifts. And okay, so I can explain name of pieces, name of chess pieces in Ukrainian language. It's quite easy, because it will be useful to know часом можете по адресу вашої електронної почти для зв'язку, бо найближчим часом до Львова, ну, як сказати, я так публічно не даю. Тобто ви можете свою дати електронну почту тут мені написати, і я вам зі своєї напишу. А так, щоб публічно для всіх, я вважаю, що це якось неправильно. А от якщо ви дасте свою, то я можу там вам написати своє, і ви будете мати. Але то не буде все-таки такий загальний доступ. Хоча великого секрету з моєї електронної почти немає, ну, але так якось всім її рекламувати мені не хочеться. Окей, so, pieces. King in Ukrainian language will be король. Король. King. Maybe it's possible to write. It will be better. Just a moment. I can write. It will be much better. Король. King. Ферзь дорівнює Queen. Окей. Тура. Рук. Слон. Бішоп. Шоп. Кінь. Найт. Пішак. І пон. So, that's right. So, king, король, ферзь, тура, слон, кінь, пішак. Офіцер, it's, okay, it's interesting that my grandmother told officer, but officer it's from Bulgarian language. So in Bulgarian language, chess bishop is officer. And sometimes it was used in Ukraine, but it's old name. My grandmother told officer, so, but at the moment slon. It's and also there is another name in old Ukrainian language, bigun. Bigun. So bigun, I will write. There is word bigun. It's normal word. If translate now from Ukrainian language, it means runner, person who is running. So runner, person who is running. It can be sportsman, athlete who is running. But in years, for example, 1930, 1920, it was name of chess bishop in Ukrainian magazines of that time, Ukrainian books in that time. But okay, in German Läufer, Läufer, yes. So yes, I know Läufer, yes. Laufer, also my grandmother told. Laufer. Well, it's Läufer, but she had accent from west of Ukraine, so Bigun. Indian, rook is elephant, and bishop is camel. Okay, interesting. Interesting. But Indian has many dialects, as I know. For example, there is Hindi, there is Tamil. So, and I know that Anand and Shanshikiran, they are speaking mostly in Tamil. And okay, I am not expert in Tamil, but I remember that pamb means snake in Tamil. In Hindi, only I know only word from Indian films. Bahu, it's daughter-in-law in Hindi. But in Tamil, I know only pamb, which means snake. If I am not right, please correct me. I will be. I will say you only thank you. If I want to improve my knowledge in foreign. Indian movies, okay, I have seen many of them in the cinemas when I was teenager, many years ago. In Soviet cinemas, it was popular to demonstrate Indian films with two series. For example, from some languages, of course, I cannot tell that I can speak Estonian language, but I remember one phrase which Lembit all explained me, paleo kelion. In Estonian language, it means what time is it now? Khmer. Instead of b4, black waits with king g7. Instead of b4, you mean in the game Firuzja? Okay, I will come back to check. To chess, sorry. It's important. Instead, if king g7, only one winning move. Okay, so I will try to find this move. Okay, king f2 looks very natural move. But I'm not sure, because if I play king f2, black has b4, and after a takes b4, black has a3, and after bishop c1, black can take on b4, and after bishop a3, knight d3 check, and knight f4 is coming, and this is draw. King somewhere, knight f4, bishop f8, king h8. So yes, so king f2 is draw, I see. And what is the winning move? Interesting question. We'll try to understand. So, what is idea? Good exercise for me, thank you. So, if king f2 is draw, king has no logical moves. Pawn cannot move, so correct move is bishop, with bishop. Only I need to understand which move with bishop is correct and why. Now, this is my logic. So, bishop h6 check, king a8, king h8, and black has idea knight e7. Bishop f8, knight, so bishop h6, I don't see special advantage of this move. It is fortress. It's not the bishop, so king, king d1, you mean, or what? You mean king d1 or what? Is it possible? But why? King f1. Ah, king f1. Now I understand. So, idea to avoid knight d3 check. Yes. Yes, so I understand main idea. So if a3, bishop c1, and now after this, knight d3 is not check. Aha, king f1. And black has no time for contraplay. Fantastic. I am really appreciate it. And I feel a little bit shame that I couldn't solve it. Okay, so I need to solve more such such a position and try to improve my shape, at least like solver, also like player. It's important, of course. It was draw, but it was draw because Nakamura played correctly before. But if imagine that he played king g7 instead of, so after king g7 he is losing because king f1, very nice move, and black cannot organize contraplay and they are losing. Okay, but anyway, I need to develop my creativity, and especially if I have understood what was problem with king f2, so it was possible to guess that I need just avoid motif with knight d3 check and knight f4. Okay, thank you very much. I will try to become stronger. Okay, so I explained pieces in Ukraine already. What else? It is interesting for my spectators. What is wrong with king d1? Probably after king d1 there is no good plan. So king d1, king h8, and how white can improve position. Yes, chess player, good chess player also. If I did some prediction for tomorrow, but even I wrote somewhere. No, it wasn't for tomorrow. I wrote somewhere my prediction, but I forgot where I wrote this. I will check. Not in this paper. Yes. Yes. I find my prediction for tomorrow. So my prediction, which I made yesterday, that tomorrow Ding will win against Caruana with white, Duda will win against Rajabu with white, Nepomniachtchi against Firouzja draw, and Rapport against Nakamura draw as well. So 2 decisive games, according to my prediction. King f1 we are analyzing b4, ab, a3, bishop c1, knight e7 is proposition. Knight e7, just a moment. Bishop takes, okay, b5 or bishop takes... Okay, b5, knight g6, b6, knight e7, bishop a3, bishop b2 maybe. Bishop b2 or just maybe king e2 or something like this. It's possible. At least this is winning. King e4, king d5 is coming. Still not so obvious, however. This, but very likely. But very likely, but how to win this? I have an excellent book about somebody asked me about good books about practical endgame. I have an excellent book I can show you, which I strongly recommend. Just a moment, please. I mean this book in Croatian language. This book. Завершниця лаких фігура. Це легкофігурні закінчення. It's endgame with minor pieces. Vlado Kovacevic is author of this book. So this is really nice book. Bishop d6, but king 8. So it's... No, now it looks like draw already. Vlado Kovacevic. Vlado Kovacevic is author. Yes. Okay, so how to win this? So b5 looks like correct. But maybe here bishop takes a3 is simply winning. Not allow knight e7, knight c6, and how black can fight with b pawn. So this is easy win. Yes. Or even start bishop takes a3, knight g6, b5, and e7 square is under control, so black simply cannot stop b pawn. Very nice win. a2 on b5. Okay, but bishop takes a3, more simple. Так, кожного англійською мовою на російську чи на українську я не бачив перекладу. Тобто англійською, ще німецькою був варіант, причому адресу вказав вище. Відповідь, як називаються? Зараз я мушу подивитися, то треба так прокрутити. Так, де ж то ви вказали? Зараз, де то ваша адреса? Так, я написав, як фігури називаються. Так, де ж то? Тут треба крутити. Так далеко я... адреса моєї почти. Зараз запишу. Хвилиночку, зачекайте. Я прогавив вашу адресу почти. Значить так, Ігор Іван 1. Ігор Іван 1, знак мейлу. Так, тільки скажіть, будь ласка, що там в кінці, значить. Так, ще раз я подивлюся, чи я все вірно написав. Так, де ж то воно? Знову, так, от. Так, то я вказав. Так, а де то? Ігор Іван 1, знак. Тепер мені скажіть, що в кінці? Gmail.com чи що там? Ігор Іван 1, а далі після того, тої собаки, що я там маю написати? Gmail.com чи Yahoo, чи що? Який кінець після того емейловського значку? Скажіть мені, будь ласка. Gmail, може, так? Але кінець, ви просто напишіть без того, просто Gmail, просто одне слово напишіть. Gmail, чи Yahoo, чи там, я не знаю, чи Hotmail, чи що там, я не знаю, який там, той домен на кінці, який. Що то перший я собі записав, Ігор Іван 1, далі той значок, а от що в кінці написати. Бо то, якщо ви тут пишете, то воно блокує, але ви окремо напишіть просто. Gmail, чи як там, чи що там. Оце, будь ласка, напишіть, і тоді я вам напишу з своєї почти. Gmail, все тоді, gmail.com, добре. Gmail.com, тоді я вам напишу. Okay, so I don't need to play b5, much more easy to take here, and after knight takes g6, b5 is winning. And if a4, a2, bishop b2, and black cannot play knight e7 because e5 is hanging. Так, зрозумів. Добре, дякую. Значить, будемо на контакті, я вам напишу. Добре, ну що, я бачу, підходить 11 година, і мені час спати. So, it's 11 p.m. and I need to sleep. So, thanks for your attention. And I hope you were enjoyed with my stream. До побачення. Всім дякую за увагу. Мені просто пора вже йти все-таки спати. Тому до зустрічі в наступному ефірі.